welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Ashley, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag that's going around Booktube. That's been going around for like years and years. I've been watching it forever, and I did my first one last year, and I'm really excited to be doing another one today. So I've tried to not have a bunch of repeats for the prompts. There are some that like would apply for like multiple prompts, but I've tried to just kind of like not have too many repeats. This is so cliche, but I can't believe it's already like almost the end of June. We're over halfway through the year, which is just like absolutely crazy. I've read so many good books this year. I've read a few bad ones, but the majority have been like very good, and I'm just really excited. When I was going through the prompts, I actually had to go through the books that I've read this year on my Goodreads and just like refresh my memory, because for some of the prompts I couldn't think of anything, and then when I was going through the books that I've read this year, there were quite a few that applied. So I'm really looking forward to doing this video, and let's just get started. So the original creator that made this list, I'll link down below. And then I was watching Mel's video about her mid-year freakout tag, and she included extra prompts from Katie. And I'll include the links to all those videos down below in the description. So the first prompt is the best book you've read in 2024. And for this one, I did have like quite a few answers, but again, a bunch of them applied to like other prompts. So I'm trying to just not have a bunch of repeats. Like last year I had a ton of repeats and it was just really annoying. The one I chose for this is House of Flame and Shadow, which is the third in the Crescent City series by Sarah J Maas. And this one definitely like has its flaws for sure. There were parts of it that really bothered me. Not bothered, they just kind of like irked me and like kind of annoyed me, but overall I really liked this. I was super emotional reading it. I loved it still. I think because it was almost like not nostalgic. I feel like Crescent City isn't old enough to be nostalgic, but like just going back into that world with those characters, I just loved it. I knew no matter what I was gonna like it. So I would say that this so far has been the best book I've read, but in saying that, I don't think it technically is like the best book ever written. It's definitely like my emotional ties to the series and just like the world as a whole, as well as Sarah J Maas's like other books. Like I just felt very like comforting to go back into this, and I was just so excited that we finally had the third in the Crescent City series, and now just waiting on Ekatar 5. The next prompt is the best sequel that you've read in 2024, and this one I had a bit of trouble with. I don't think I've read any sequels, but I did read Yours Truly, which follows after Part of Your World. However, technically they're like companion books. They're set in like the same universe. Like the characters from the first book are friends with the characters from this book, but it's not technically like, they could be read as standalones. So I don't know if this is cheating, but this one was definitely my favorite like sequel of the year, but it's definitely going to be in like my top 5 favorite books of the year by the end of the year. I'm sure like it'll stay that way. This one just had like so much representation that I absolutely loved. I feel like the anxiety representation was just done so well. I have never read anxiety representation that was just done so well. It felt like so much more than like just a romance. Like it really, yeah, I resonated with this one so much, and I loved it. So the next prompt is a new release that you haven't read yet. And for this one, I picked a book that I haven't seen a lot about, and that is The Witches of Bolinas. And this one sounds really good. It's not very long, and I definitely want to get to it like ASAP because it just sounds so good. I'm just gonna read like the top of the back really quickly. It says, a dreamy California Gothic about a woman who moves to the mysterious town of Bolinas to save her marriage, only to be swept up by a hedonistic cult that isn't what it seems. And to me, that just sounds like so many things that I love. And I'm just actually extremely excited to read this. It came out in May, and I've had it for a little while, but I just haven't reached for it. But I'm kind of thinking I might save it for Summerween in July. The next one is my most anticipated release for the rest of 2024, and this one I actually had a lot of trouble with because I feel like all the ones that I was really looking forward to have already come out, especially because Lucy Foley and Riley Sager's books like just came out a few days ago. So I had some trouble. I had to look up like upcoming releases for the rest of 2024 on like quite a few different websites, and I think the one that I'm most excited for is Monsoon Rising, which is the Hurricane Wars sequel, but not to the level where I'd say it's like my most anticipated usually if there was other books, but I actually can't think of like a book that I'm like anticipating more, so I'm gonna go with Monsoon Rising. The next prompt is The Biggest Surprise, and that one is Done and Dusted, which I just read recently. So this one has a few elements of why it's such a big surprise to me, and one of them is I didn't expect to be so like swept up by romance this year. It started like mid-February and I just have not been able to put romance down. I've read so many, and that in itself is just like a big surprise to me. I was not expecting that. But then also to delve into like a cowboy romance, like that I just did not see coming. Even when I was getting into romance, I was like, no, I don't think cowboy romance is like for me. Like I don't think it's like my jam. Like I don't think it's what I would be interested in. And then I read this and I was like, okay, I see it. I get it. Like, I get it now. And so this was probably my biggest surprise. I have the sequel, so I'm very excited to get to that one like ASAP. The next prompt is my favorite new author from 2024, and this one I'm gonna have to go with Abby Jimenez. I also have Part of Your World and Just for the Summer that go with yours truly. I'd say she is like my favorite new to me author for this year. I can't really think of anyone else that this would apply to, just because so many of the books that I loved this year, I have read other books by those authors before. So like I'm not gonna say like yours truly is my favorite book of the year or that any of her books are my favorite book of the year, but I guess just because of the other books have all been by authors I've already read in previous years. She also has 3 other books in a companion series, I believe, that came out a while before Part of Your World and yours truly, etc. And I kind of want to get into them, but I have heard mixed things. I've heard that like they're not the greatest. So let me know if you've read them. Let me know what you think. I'm still like undecided on if I'm going to read them. Okay, so I know I said I was going to try not to repeat any, or at least like try my best, but the next prompt is who is your favorite like fictional crush from this year? And I have 2, and one of them is Jacob from yours truly, who is like the male main character. He's one that has all the anxiety, so like I just love him, but we're not going to go into more of yours truly. We've talked about it enough. So my other one I would say would be Miles from Funny Story. I loved him. He was like a breath of fresh air when it comes to romance. Like he was not your typical like romance male main character at all, and I loved that about him. Like he was definitely more like goofy. He was more like didn't take life so seriously. He was just like so, yeah, I loved him. So he is one of my like main fictional crushes from 2024. And on the topic of repeating books, the next prompt is a book that made you cry, and that is House of Flame and Shadow. And this one definitely made me cry at certain parts, not as much as the first 2 in this series, but it definitely had me like shedding some tears. The next prompt is a book that made me happy, and for this one I have Late Bloomer, which I just finished the other day, and this one made me absolutely just like over the moon, so happy. I loved this book so much. It was just adorable. The 2 main characters, Pepper and Opal, were just so cute together. It was not like a picture perfect romance. It definitely like wasn't love at first sight or anything like that. So it's not why it made me happy. It did have like dimensions to it, but it just like made me so happy. So the next one is the most beautiful book that you have gotten or bought this year. And for that one, I think I'm gonna go with A Feather So Black. So this one is the fairyloot copy, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So here is the cover, and it's like gorgeous. And then here's the back. And then the sprayed edges has the swan, and then the end pages are also beautiful. The like naked hardback is also super pretty. So I think this one is definitely like the prettiest one that I've gotten this year. The next prompt is books that I want to read by the end of 2024, and I just posted a video of books that I want to reread by the end of 2024, so I'm not going to go into those, but I do really just need to get through like my NetGalley shelf by the end of the year. I want to be like as close to like 0 as possible by the end of the year, so I'm all caught up. So we'll see. I'm definitely going to stop requesting books because it's out of control and I just need to stop doing that. But I know so many of us say that and then we just like keep doing it. So we'll see how that goes. But it's my full intention to stop requesting so many books. Okay, so here are where the extra questions from Katie start. So the first one is, what books do you want to reread by the end of the year? And like I said, I did a video on that, but quickly, I want to reread Hurricane Wars because the sequel's coming out in the fall. I want to reread Meredith Alone. I want to reread the ACOTAR series, and I want to reread Twilight since I haven't read it since it first came out. So I go into more detail about all of that in the other video if you want to watch that, but otherwise those are the books that I really want to reread by the end of the year. The next prompt is like, what books are you putting off reading? And for this one, it's definitely Zodiac Academy. This is number 7. I have like just started it. I've only gotten a few pages in, but that was like a few months ago. And the 9th and final book just came out. I'm definitely putting off finishing this series just because I don't want it to end. I know there's a ton of like spin-offs and novellas, but I'm not like super interested in those. Kind of like once I finish this one, the 8th and the 9th, like it's just over. They are very long and the font is like very small and the books are like actually very large in size. So like there still is a lot of content to go through, but yeah, I'm just like nervous to finish the series. So I've definitely been putting off 7, 8, and 9. The next prompt is a book that you enjoyed that got mixed reviews. And for this one, I have spoiler alert. So this one I just finished and it definitely has some mixed reviews. It has a lot of like hate for it on Goodreads. And I definitely see the merit to some of that, but the pros outweighed the cons for me with this one. I really liked it. I'm not super into like the fan fiction world or like at all. So like any of the merit to do with like fan fiction, like critique with how it was portrayed in this book, like I don't really know anything about it. So I'm not gonna like sit here and say this book is perfect if it like negatively or like incorrectly portrays such a large community. Like that's totally valid, but I just enjoyed it because I don't know anything about that and I love the plus size representation. So this one definitely has some mixed reviews. So for series that you want to finish by the end of the year, besides rereading Twilight and rereading ACOTAR, I really want to finish Zodiac Academy like I just said. I would love to just have this wrapped up. I've been reading this for years at this point because I put off finishing each book for so long. Like I have been reading this series for years. So I would love to just like wrap it up, finish it, tie it up neatly with a bow and start the next year like having the series just like done. The next prompt is if I have any 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. And this one I don't even want to answer because I feel like it's just bad luck and I don't want to like put that out there and then be disappointed or anything like that. So I'm just gonna like skip this question and say like no comment. The next prompt is, do you think you'll reach your reading goal and are you going to change it? So this one I have like a long convoluted answer for because I set my reading goal for like over 100 books less than I read last year. I read like 190 something books by the end of 2023 and I didn't like that because I definitely prioritized reading over every other aspect of my life and I didn't want to do that this year. But having said that, I am like at already over, I think I'm at like 109 books right now or something, and I don't like that. So I have surpassed my reading goal. I set it for 85 and then once I hit it a little while ago, I bumped it up to 100 with the intention of like heavily slowing down, reading more nonfiction, maybe like going out of my comfort zone more, and as well as just like not prioritizing reading over everything and not using it so much as like a mental health crutch. Like there's coping mechanisms and then there's crutches, you know? So I just kind of want to slow down a lot more. But having said that, yes, I changed it to 100 and I surpassed that, but I'm not going to change it again. And I just hope that it just slows down. The last prompt is if I have any reading goals for the rest of the year, and I think my biggest one would be I want to read more nonfiction. It was my goal to read 6 nonfiction books this year and I have only read 1. I love nonfiction. I love a good memoir. North of Normal is one of my like favorite memoirs, and then like Educated, of course. I have a few others that I really want to get to, so I'm hoping to prioritize nonfiction for the rest of the year. If I want to keep my goal of reading 6 by the end of the year, then I'm definitely gonna have to prioritize it more, which also kind of leans into my reading goal and just like everything I just said about that. So I'm hoping to go into more nonfiction. I need to go through my nonfiction. Right now they're in 2 boxes, so I need to like pull them out, maybe like make an inventory of which ones I have, categorize them, all that like fun type A stuff, and then just kind of go from there and really prioritize them and just hope for the best with that, try my hardest, and yeah. So that is the end of my mid-year freakout tag, and I had so much fun doing this and kind of like going through my lists and prepping my answers for this. It was so fun. Let me know if you have any fun answers to these prompts, or if you like agree or disagree with any of mine. It would be super fun to see like what you guys would have to say about the prompts or what your answers would be, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.